Hello and welcome to the Epilogue with Sihle Bonani. On this show, we'll be expanding the conversation around the experiences of Black professionals in the workplace, with the intention of all of us being able to get into formation so that we can go into solution mode. The intention of this show is to teach, to share knowledge, to enlighten, to trigger, to heal, and most importantly, it's to act. The content that we'll be covering on the show includes HR, the law, recruitment processes, discrimination, remuneration policies, how to have difficult conversations, and so much more. If you'd like to be part of our community, it's very simple. Simply subscribe to our channel, details are below. You can follow us on Instagram at WorkWhileBlack, follow us on Twitter at WorkWhileBlack, and don't forget to visit our website www.workingwhileblack.co.za. Income inequality, a topic that's making waves globally, and especially within the South African context. Today we're going to be talking about it specifically as it relates to income inequality within the workplace. Joining me for today's conversation is Cindy Ross, who is an attorney and specializes in labor law and employment law.
Thank you,
Cindy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, what I'd like to talk about today specifically is the legislation around equal work and equal pay. What does it actually mean?
Okay, so equal work for equal pay, it really just tries to even the playing field with regards to salaries in the workplace, because I'm sure you're a black woman, you know, majority of the time you could be doing a way better job, you still tend to earn less than your male counterparts, even worse, your white male counterparts. So it's really just trying to address the income inequality for women and then black professionals within in the workplace. And it actually stems from Britain. They were the first ones to legislate this type of thing. And then South Africa started it because I think after affirmative action was implemented, everyone thought it was going to be great, everything would be well, but you still sat with the fact that you literally did exactly, if not better work than your counterpart, but still earned less. So it really just looks at addressing those types of issues.
So who's actually responsible for holding employers accountable for adhering to this legislation?
Okay, so it would be Department of Labour. So they're the statutory body that holds employers accountable for any work-related matter. But an employee can go to CCMA as well. Should they go to CCMA, they would have to have all the evidence on their own, which is something that's generally not very easy to get hold of, because you're technically not supposed to have that information. Where with Department of Labour, because they've been appointed by the minister to go into workplaces, they don't have to ask for permission to come into the workplace, but they also have the right to get access to information that you as an employee would not necessarily have access to. So your chances are usually better to go to Department of Labour. It's just the process will take a bit longer because they don't come as fast as CCMA will deal with the matter. But like I said, just for getting access to the information that you actually need, Department of Labour is generally better placed.
Is it legal and ethical for employers to coerce employees into keeping their salaries a secret when it results in salary inequality and, in effect, a breach of the law?
Law and ethics very rarely mix. I always tell people apartheid was legal, the Holocaust was legal. So just because something is legal doesn't automatically make it ethical or right. So I think people, when they approach these matters, need to separate the fact that legislation might say something. That does not mean your company is going to be doing it. Or they might have all the documentation that says, yes, we believe in it and we're going to doing it, but in practice it's completely the opposite. So in those types of instances, I think whenever I get clients asking me for advice, I always tell them, look at it as though you're running the business. You're not easily going to be handing out money, so you also need to play the game with your company. A lot of times I just get complaints saying I don't have a salary, and when you ask them, okay, what is it that you do, the employee themselves can't say. So before approaching this, it's like I said, just view view it as if you are going into a business deal, because when you go into a business deal, you prepare properly. So it would rather be writing down what is your actual scope versus someone else's within the company. Going out, calling a recruitment agency, asking them, can I have the salary scale for my position within my industry? Now you have supporting documents to say, okay, but I'm not earning what I'm supposed to be earning. And then putting pressure on them via that way, because if I can prove that, look, I know for a fact, I don't have to give payslips in that regard, but I can prove my workload is more than my counterpart. Salary in the market is higher than what I am paying. You're already putting them on the back foot, and I think people, HR also lies when they say it's legislated that you can't divulge your payslip. There's no section in any law that says you can't give it out. It's normally company policy, and companies that are very hard on that are usually the ones that are being dodgy.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that says you can't. I've never been able to fire someone for disclosing their payslip, because there's no such legislation. It's really just companies' tool to try and hide those things from you. Yes, they won't openly give it, but that's why, as I advised, is go out, call a recruitment agency and get the information from them, because they have the information and it's free.
Okay. So how do we begin to bridge this gap? Because obviously we still have a big issue with income inequalities in the workplace. We still have a big issue with secrecy in the workplace, where even I've experienced it, where you can see that your colleagues who are on the same level as you, and sometimes even a level lower, you can see just from the quality of their lives, from being able to buy a house, buy a car, and do all of these things, that they're earning so much more than you. So clearly there's a problem. There's a gap in terms of the implementation of this legislation. So how can we bridge the gaps? Is it a lawmaker issue? Is it an implementation issue? Or is it just a culture of lawlessness and a disregard for human dignity and equality in the workplace?
So there's various ways that you can, I think, approach these types of things, because I don't necessarily think it's a problem with our legislation. It's more a problem with the implementation thereof. Because in most of these cases where these things happen, the company on the face of it is doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. It's also a matter of us as employees not knowing how to play the game as well. Because I think with our counterparts, they've had their parents sitting with them telling them this is how you move through business, all of these things, and it's things that we kind of have to fall over our feet all the time. Yes, some of us have the benefit of having an older brother or sister that's been through this and can give a bit of advice, but not everybody can. So it's literally more around knowing and understanding the work environment and how to move around it, and documenting what is happening, because I think as Black people, that's our worst trait, is we don't know how to write things down and keep track and keep information of things. And that's generally where we go wrong, is we'll attack a matter with so much emotion, and I always get the whole, it's on principle, and when someone starts with the whole principle, I'm like, okay, here we go. It's just emotions, and emotions doesn't win a matter. Screaming that it's immoral, it's not fair, is not going to win you a matter. Facts do. And so if you keep your documentation, and it's simple things as saying, look, for this month, this is the amount of things I did versus this person, what's going on here, and calling them to account, because the more information you have, the harder it becomes for the other side to sit and say, but this one's crazy, because they know you're documenting. And it would also help you when you want to take your matter further. You'd literally have everything documented, and you'd have proof to justify why you're saying something. So my first point of advice would be, take emotions out of it and document everything that's happening within your space.
So just off the back of that, I think probably one of the questions that a lot of people would ask, having heard that, is, okay, it's great, I can go and, I can challenge these things myself, but then how do I protect myself from being sidelined going forward, for being too vocal, for not being the good Black that just does what they're told and takes their peanuts home every month?
I think I've experienced it, you experienced it. The minute you step up and you speak out, you're a target anyways. So you need to mentally prepare yourself for that fight. And that's also why I mentioned the Employment Equity Forum. At least that gives you a level of protection. In most instances, most people aren't going to help you fight the fight. You're kind of going to be on it on your own. And that's why I always have the conversation about, as Black employees, I think we also need to do better on learning mentally just how to deal with these things and sift through it, and dealing with them calmly, because that becomes part of our problem. Is the minute you speak up, it's not going to be received well. That I can guarantee. I've never been in a work environment that appreciates people that go against the norm. But I think they generally tend to respect you a bit more, regardless. They might not say it, but they'll respect you a bit more. But take the emotions, I think, completely out of it. Employment Equity Forum, if you feel you're not strong enough to fight it on your own, then sit within a forum that's legally there and legally has the right to fight this fight.
Thank you so much for that, Cindy. That was so insightful, and I definitely learned a hell of a lot from that conversation.
Thank you for having me.
So there you have it. Equal pay for work of equal value. Not an easy topic to navigate, but Cindy's now given us some tools that we can begin to use to help us find our way through. So remember, reach out to your employment equity forums within your workplace. Get in contact with recruitment agencies so that you can understand what the industry standards are for remuneration for your role. If you need to reach out to the Labour Department, please do so, because they have the ability to get the resources and the information that you need to be able to ensure that you are paid equitably and fairly within your workplace. And lastly, there's always the CCMA. All you need to do is decide which option works best for your particular situation. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Epilogue with Sihle Bolan. I look forward to seeing you next time.